We're back again for another episode. This one's a special one. We got Matt, of course, fantasy salesman. We got size 13, please, on Twitter. We call him
Yep.
13. Shout out my man ATL in the building.
LA.
So
Shout out.
we LA,
Big
he
shout
lives
out,
in
Dave.
LA, but I'm saying ATL, that's his team, ATL Birds over there. So the Falcons
Yes, sir.
stand up. So run pass option. If you guys don't know about us, we're on Apple Music, we're on Spotify. Shout out to Fantasy Analyzers on Twitter. Send any questions, DMs. If you got comments, mailbag. If you want to get your lineup set, anything you want to talk about football related, either we know it or we'll get somebody like size 13 please on here to talk specifically about it. So anyways, without further ado, Matt's got a live draft going, so that's super cool. And my LA guy, size 13 please, is gonna answer some really good in-depth questions about those ATL Dirty Birds, because we think it's back, baby. We think
Yes,
it's
sir.
back. We think
I hope
it's
so.
back. And that
I hope
there's
so.
gonna be some shootouts over there in that, and it's
Oh, yeah.
South, boy. I'm
Oh,
ready
yeah.
for it. That is
Woo.
fantasy gold.
Can't wait.
Man,
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes.
So Matt, can you tell everybody where you're at in your draft?
So yeah, for sure. So I'm in the 5th round. We're going into the 6th round. So I got a couple picks under my belt. First round, Chris McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, 2 spots, standard scoring. Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott. I was sitting in the 4th. I got Saquon.
You can't lose getting Saquon in the 4th pick. Man, a lot of people will take him number 1 overall. You know, depending on the settings, I won't even blame him. What are your thoughts on that, size 13?
To me, that's a steal. Like I was telling him earlier before we went live, I'm like, did someone take Lamar or someone take Patrick Mahomes? Like, I would have jumped on that. I would have jumped on that in a heartbeat. So that was a good steal.
Saquon,
Yeah,
absolutely.
just pick for me. I don't
first.
know.
Saquon. That's how you set up a league winner right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like ADP wise, I think that's Ezekiel Elliott's going 4th for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll say, yeah, if you're lucky, you can get Zeke.
You know, but you can't go wrong. Honestly, if you take C-Mac, Saquon, Calvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, and the top 4 picks, really, you can't go wrong, guys.
At all. Yeah.
So you're getting a surefire every down back, a guy that's going to catch you, between 60 and 100 balls, and he's going to be running the rock with you and getting all those touchdowns. So, man, I'm really excited about that pick for you. Can you tell us about round 2?
Yeah, for sure. I actually have a pick right now. I'm in the 6th round.
Well, make your pick, brother.
I have Saquon. I'm going to run it real quick. I have a Saquon. I got Gurley, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and I have Jonathan Taylor, my flex. So we're kind of rolling there as far as standard scoring. So I'm looking at maybe a tight end at this point, Evan Ingram, Tyler Higbee. You guys can kind of discuss that as far as a tight end.
If it's standard, I'm going Evan Ingram for sure. Is Waller there?
Nah, he's gone.
Okay, I'm going Evan Ingram if it's standard, because Evan Ingram's one of those players who can get you 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, or he might get you nothing.
Break his leg the next play.
I need him to stay on the field this year, though. I hope he stays.
You guys are right.
Yeah.
We can all agree that he's got that potential to be the number 1 receiving option in the New York Giants offense. He's got the athleticism. He looks like a wide receiver. You split him out, have him in. He's a matchup nightmare. I really like Tyler Higbee. I'm not downplaying anything because I think the Rams are going to run a lot of 12 personnel. Shout out to LA. But my other thing about that is, Gerald Everett's over there, and Tyler Higbee is going to, he's one of those guys who's going to get you 5 catches a game, but is he going to get you 80 yards, or is he going to get you 5 catches and 40 yards without a touchdown? He may be touchdown dependent. So
kind of going into the 2nd round is guys like Miles Sanders, Michael Thomas, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Joe Mixon, Kenyon Drake, Lamar Jackson winning the 20th spot in standard. Dirty.
Wow.
I mean, it's interesting because we our segment the other day was about how if you don't get Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes not exactly, we were talking about 2nd round.
Just wait.
If you don't get the 2nd round, just kind of wait until you get a Russell Wilson, a Deshaun Watson, a Josh Allen, a Dak Prescott, because you can get them in a couple of rounds after the fact, and you're still going to get yourself a second round pick like a Joe Mixon or a guy like Miles Sanders, a guy like Austin Eckler. Did you hear that? Austin
Eckler.
And Todd
I
Gurley's
like that.
going to be around that wraparound when you come around third and fourth round, depending on the settings.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys have thoughts about taking Patrick Mahomes round 1? He went in 8th spot in this draft.
I think that's too rich for my blood. Too rich for my blood.
I agree.
Yeah.
13. I agree.
Ooh,
I agree.
Yeah.
There's so many. It's just so many good players out there, position players, and you're going to need to build your team around. I know size 13. You got players out there like Julio Jones in that back end of the first round or the early second round, where you're like, okay, I need to pair up Julio with a running back like Josh Jacobs or a Derrick Henry, and then I go to my quarterback because a guy like Matt Ryan is going to throw for 4,500 yards perennially, and you're going to get him in the 8th to 9th round, right?
Right, exactly. Easily, you should. Round 2 to 3 analysis. Let me give you an example.
2, 3.
So yesterday in my first round, I drafted 10th. I drafted Devontae Adams, and it was a 14 team. And so I came back around, and I got Joe Mixon. Yeah.
Hey,
I'll take him.
You're a thief, brother.
Yeah,
you're a thief.
Right?
Make sure I don't leave my wallet around you.
I know.
Thief.
They're right.
And this is a PPR league, by the way. So.
I'm on the ground. I am on the ground because he just said he got Joe Mixon and was it a 14-teamer?
14-teamer. And he came back around. I was like, he's still there. Second round. I'm like, okay, I'll take him.
These are scary hours we're living in. If you can get a Joe Mixon in the back end of a 14-teamer.
Come on, now.
Come on, man.
I mean, the guy who picked second picked Lamar Jackson. So I was like, okay, this draft is already off.
Hey, all that means to you, to the grounded fantasy football player, the guy that did his research, the guy that's ready to win his league, is that he's biting at the chomps to pick because he knows that there's going to be some gold over there.
That's right.
Yep.
You sure know what to say? Yeah, you know what to say, brother.
3, man. You gotta pair up your elite. If you're doing it right, 13, right? Like kind of like what you said. If you're doing it right, you picked a solid running back in the first round, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And then if you have the ability to get a Joe Mixon in the second round, you better just. I'm going to the playoffs.
I'm jumping on that for real.
Yeah.
Oh,
Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
In the second, in a 14, that's. I don't even know. That's what, like pick 18 or something crazy like that in the spot that you were in 13?
Yeah, that was insane. I was like, are you guys okay? But I was debating on taking Josh Jacobs was there too. So I was like,
ooh, you can't either one. That's guaranteed money. Who'd you take round 13?
Round 3, if I remember correctly, I have to go back and check. I don't remember quite. It was just yesterday, but I believe it was a wide receiver. Oh, I mean, this was a bit of a stretch. This is where I kind of messed up a little bit. I stretched it, but I went with Florida.
Scary Terry. Man, honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm mad at you for that, depending on settings, because in a keeper league or a dynasty league, you're going to see Scary Terry creeping up to that third round. A lot of the dynasty, the Devy, the keeper leagues, they're looking at that Scary Terry pick like, oh, that's gold because, in 2 to 3 years, he's still going to be a top 10 to 15 wide receiver for perennial. So you're really drafting him probably a year earlier than he is the third round.
Yeah.
But like you said, though, you're still getting 1,000-yard receiver. He's got the capability to do 10 touchdowns. Who else are they going to throw to? I know they got Steve Sims Jr. and I know they got Antonio Gibson. But at the end of the day, they're going to be playing from behind, right? 13?
Right. Yes, exactly, for the most part. And that's his old college quarterback chugging him the rock. So,
that's history. You hear that, y'all? That's history. He's got his college quarterback chugging him the ball. They got that relationship. They got that relationship, that connection. You know, that college buddy thing. I played college football myself, so I know about how you have that connection with your buddies, and you know how it takes from boyhood to manhood, and you keep that rocking, and it translates to on the field. How you doing over there, Matt?
Doing right. I'm chilling. I'm listening to you guys.
Okay, good.
I think my connection's like back and forth.
Okay. So 13, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions then about the ATL Dirty Birds, the Falcons, man. What are your expectations for what are your expectations? How many wins do you think you're gonna get this year? I know it's a loaded division. You got Tom Brady came to town. You obviously got Drew Brees. So you arguably got the best quarterbacks in the whole NFL in that division. And you're gonna have some shootouts, good old fashioned, Western gunslinging. Pull out your 9. You better be ready to shoot because there's some boys that are gonna be ready to score on the first possession. And
absolutely.
So tell me about this. Is 9 wins a stretch, or are we talking about 10 wins this year?
Realistically, if everyone can stay healthy, particularly Todd Gurley. In that loaded division with New Orleans and Tampa Bay, I would say 8-8. Realistically, 8-8.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it real. Atlanta they have a hard schedule this year. Their schedule is one of the hardest.
Man, that's why I led with that question because I felt like they're playing some really hard hitters, and when I mean by hard hitters, I mean some relentless offense, and I think that's gonna translate to my next question about fantasy outlook. You've got some players that are going early in the fantasy drafts. We're talking about a Julio Jones who's probably going in the back end, early second rounds. We're talking about a Calvin Ridley who's quietly his ADP is skyrocketed through like the last several months, right? Especially when, and I think that the writing was on the wall that Ridley was going to have a breakout season when they shipped off Mohamed Sanu. And they let Austin Hooper go because they didn't want to pay him. And so they brought in a guy named Hayden Hurst, a former first rounder. Redemption season, sure hands. So tell me a little bit about Calvin Ridley.
This is my bold prediction. Calvin Ridley is going to outscore Julio this year.
Ooh, spicy. Put the hat on because that's spicy.
Yeah, he's going to, in my opinion. In fact, I want as many shares of Calvin Ridley as I can get. Yeah, I'll take him over Julio. I mean, Julio's the guy. He's the legend. I get it.
Hall of Famer.
But Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. But fantasy-wise, I want Ridley on my squad, because when Julio's on the field, it leaves a lot of room open for Ridley to work on the underneath routes and all that. So I would say Ridley's going to have a big year. This is his breakout year. What is his year 3? 4?
Yeah, year 3. So let's just
play this out in our breakout year.
Let's play this out in our heads. We got Marcus Lattimore on Julio. We got Ridley being, kind of one-on-one coverage because Gurley's back there. We got Hayden Hurst, playing the tight end. But what about my guy Russell Gage, the deep sleeper? And he
that's the slot guy, huh?
Slot guy. He had some decent games towards the end of last year, if you remember correctly.
He did. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be okay. Yeah.
In 14-team leagues, you think he's worth the roster spot?
I'll take a flyer on him at the end of but I wouldn't pick him over anyone like if a Darrell Williams is out there still, for instance, I'll grab him because if CEH go out, then that's Darrell's backfield. So I wouldn't draft him over him. But it all depends on the setup. So if it's PPR, yes, but if it's standard, probably not.
Okay. Yeah. So would you give me? We talked a little bit about Ridley. You said he's going to do better than my guy Julio Jones. Man, you guys heard it. 13, size 13, please.
Bold
It says,
prediction. Yeah.
bold prediction. Calvin Ridley is going to outscore Julio Jones this year. That's a bold prediction. He's not saying he's definitely going to do it, but it's a bold prediction. It's not out of the, it's not out of the question. So,
no.
With that being said, what are your numbers for Calvin Ridley projections?
I would say 86, 1,200.
Ooh.
7.
Ooh, that's definitely, that's somebody that you need to have rostered and started every week. So that's a solid contributor. So what about, let's move on from Calvin Ridley. Let's talk about the other guy that came to town, the guy that's going to fill the 90 plus targets that went to Austin Hooper, the guy that came from the Baltimore, Ravens. He goes by the name Hayden Hurst. And I heard that he was driving up to Matt Ryan's house over the summer and trying to create a rapport. And I guess they've kind of had some type of a connection over the off season, the COVID season.
Smart man. Early bird gets the worm. Go ahead and get that started early. And see a lot of successful things to come from that. So,
what do you think he's going to do some Hooper numbers, or do you think that was a Hooper only type situation?
I don't think he's as athletic as Hooper. Hooper kind of came out of nowhere and caught a lot of us by surprise. So, but at least last year he did. He just came along slowly. Hayden Hurst, he was in my opinion, he was in an offense that had Lamar Jackson, had a lot of speedsters, so it left a lot of open space. So that's where a lot of his work was done, in my opinion. But Atlanta, there's a lot of mouths to feed. He'll probably get like 50 balls thrown his way, maybe 700-800 yards, maybe.
Ooh, okay, that's something.
3 or 4 touchdowns.
Drafted in just outside the top 10 tight ends. Sometimes just inside. Sometimes I've seen his ADP is steadily rising. So I like that prediction, man. I think that he can definitely do 700 yards. I think that his touchdowns will be a lot heavier than people expect because he's got some sure hands. So you can definitely catch Hayden Hurst in rounds 11 to 13, especially if you're looking for that second tight end or that tight end that you kind of just punted and you just want to fill a spot and you're ready to possibly have some big games. They're going to need to score points. Not Julio and Ridley can score everything, which leads me to my next question about our guy, the Dirty Bird himself, the guy who's been the RB number 1 overall at some point in his career, the man, the myth, the legend, the most swagged out new Dirty Bird player you guys got, Todd Gurley. What are your thoughts on him?
I like that pickup. I think he change of scenery can do him well, and it's sad to see Devontae go, but we need to go into another direction. So with Todd coming in, and I also see that he added some ball catching. I saw Goff was starting to throw the ball to him last year, so that's another added element, which will be welcomed. So I can see him. I don't know if he'll get 1,000 yards because I think he'll be on a pitch count. From what I read, he'll be on a pitch count, maybe 15 carries, 15 touches a game. And I'm hearing that his backup will be Brian Hill. Brian Hill will be his backup, so he'll be getting a lot of work in there as well. But I just need those knees to stand up, and if they do, I can see a productive year out of him, both receiving and rushing the ball.
Nice.
But not like 2 or 3 years ago. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say. It's funny we're talking about Todd Gurley. I feel like we're talking about him like he's 29 years old, 30 years old.
Yeah.
But in actuality, he's 26, right?
Very young. Very young.
26.
Yeah.
And that's surprising to me that, I know he's had those knee issues, but at the end of the day, he's one of those guys where he's produced RB1 overall numbers. And any type of adjustment to the offense that you have. He's never played with the Julio Jones, and he's never
Right.
played with the guys that can get open like that. So the way I see it is he's gonna make some really big splash plays, and he's gonna bring
Yeah.
that swag that you guys need. And he embodies the ATL Falcon. So that's
Right.
what I really like about him. And I don't see a reason why you can't pick him up in, rounds 5, 4, and I've seen people go to round 3 for him. So
That's a steal if you can get him in rounds 5, 4, or 5. That's a steal.
Depending on
Because
the
a lot
settings.
of people,
Depending on the settings.
Exactly. People are sleeping on him because a few years ago, he was like a number 1 pick, like
Exactly.
easily. But now if you get him in those rounds, that's a steal. And
I
like
think
you said, depending on the settings. Yeah.
a lot of people are kind of scared of the Le'Veon Bell effect, the David Johnson effect, and they're applying it to Todd Gurley without even seeing him really decline like that. So I actually think that wherever you get Todd Gurley, it's not going to be far enough down. I think that he's going to make some noise out there in ATL. It's his first year there. He's got something to prove. It's redemption season, right?
Yeah, I would say this is he went to the University of Georgia, so he's back home essentially. So, it's just I'm sure he want to prove the Rams wrong for giving up on him. So, yeah, this is that year.
Hey, Matt, checking in real quick. What pick are you on? Can you hear me? We'll keep it going. Hey, so 13, tell me this, man. So we talked a little bit about the NFC South and how tough of a matchup the ATL Falcons are going to have. So can you tell me a little bit about who you think is going to be, the winner of that division?
I would say, wow, the winner of the NFC. You know what? The NFC South. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon. I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm going to go with the Saints.
So the NFC South will go with the Saints. We'll go with the Saints. The Saints have that fluidity. They have, a lockdown corner in Lattimore. They have a defensive end that you don't want to see. They have, the number 1 overall wide receiver the last couple of years in Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara is as good as it gets when you get a young back. And the Hall of Famer. We're talking about Drew Brees. We're talking about the guy who's breaking all the passing records. The guy who's just seems like he's an Iron Man. They got Sean Payton back there just dialing up the best plays that they can dial up. And it just seems like, one more year under their belt, one more year together. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders. That's only going to help. Brees needs that secondary target. So I really like what they got going on over there in the Saints. What are your thoughts about? We talked a little bit about the Saints now and the ATL. What are your thoughts about the Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey?
Wow. Well, it's funny that you said that because I have the first pick tomorrow in my draft. It's a PPR, half PPR, and I'm like, do I go with C-Mac but that's an obvious pick. But I think it's an upgrade from Kyle Allen, in my opinion. So
yes, considerable.
So
how could you not like the guy? First and foremost, he came back from a horrific injury.
Absolutely.
And all things aside, man, the guy smiles through it all. He's one of those guys who just puts his head down. He went to the Saints. He tutored under, Drew Brees. When it was his time to be called up, he came in. I think he won 5 straight games.
Yeah,
something like that.
He did his thing. Yeah,
and he kept giving. He gave the ball to his playmakers. So what I see that is translating to I see that translating to the Carolinas. I see that Christian McCaffrey is going to get fed. I see that DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel are going to make some splash plays. And hopefully that defense can hold up for them. If not, they're going to be playing from behind, and Christian McCaffrey is going to get another 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing. So, you know what, man? I know you're hesitant about pulling the trigger on Christian McCaffrey, but even if he regresses a little bit, even 10%, he's still the number 1 overall running back.
Absolutely. No question. And all formats.
All formats, man. All formats.
formats.
And, we have this thing where, as we're analysts in 13, I'm sure you can attest to this. When you get your head in the game and you try to get cute, but sometimes it's not about getting cute. It's just about making that pick. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is I think a lot of times you overthink your picks. So you're in the 6th round, you're like, oh man, I have 3 wide receivers and 2 wide running backs. Maybe I should get a tight end at this point. You run out and get someone that's a part of the whole tier at that point. Beyond there, and those guys in the 13th round are going to be as valuable as this tight end you're going to find in the 7th. So kind of going off of what you're saying is don't overthink. Just draft, have fun.
Have fun.
You're flexible with trades. You're flexible with waivers. You're flexible with your analysis. And if you do film study like David and I do, like that comes into play as well. Sometimes the coach just doesn't like a running back or a wide receiver. Or the quarterback is like, no, I'm not feeling it. You have to kind of be flexible with anything in the game. And that's what makes this game so beautiful. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I love about it. You know what? I must admit, I love drafting more than playing fantasy football. Like it's so exciting. The drafting aspect of it is just so exciting. It's
Agreed.
No, for sure. It's Christmas for us.
Absolutely.
I love this season.
Man, that puts a smile on so many of our faces. I'm glad that, Matt, we got hopped in a league together. I'm glad that, you guys are, either drafting this week or finishing up some of your home drafts, because a lot of our home leagues kind of wait till the end so you can pick,
especially COVID season.
Yeah, I know some of my big money leagues are drafting in the coming days. And it's nice because you get all the information, but it's one of those things where you've been analyzing so long, you don't want to overthink it. And like you said, Matt, you just want to go out there, have fun, stick to what you know, and just make the easy pick. Some of those guys that that people are sleeping on. I talked about Russell Gage earlier, and I expected 13 to put a smile on his face, but man, that just goes to tell me that I can pick Russell Gage at the end of my PPR draft, and he'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So Matt, what picks do you have so far in your draft?
All right, so right now I'm rolling with let's see here: Matt Ryan, Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Howard, Deontay Johnson, Alexander Madison, and Darius Slayton. I was like, what?
You say what round did you get Jonathan Taylor?
It was killer. It was
make your pick.
Oh man, it was probably the 6 or 7.
Literally on the clock. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a standard league, I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to kill it in the back end of the season, especially. I think he's going to win some people some leagues. Maybe not. People are going to be impatient, and they're going to see Marlon Mack stealing carries. They're going to see Phillip Rivers throwing a couple TDs to Jack Doyle and to T.Y. Hilton. They're going to see Pittman mixing in there, and then they're going to get comfortable. They're going to send Taylor off on a trade. They're going to either sell him for the low or whatever, and then some smart fantasy football player is going to snatch him up and play him in the back half of the leagues. And weeks 13 through 16, when it matters the most, he's just gonna pull a Derrick Henry and run his ass off.
Yep.
Yeah. So essentially, the way I approach early drafts is I want solid, high ceiling guys, and I mean solid as that floor is still usage based, where I'm gonna get production out of Joe Mixon or Julio Jones or those guys. It's
Jordan
easy.
Howard, Jordan Howard.
I mean, Jordan Howard, I got him at 5th round, I believe. Maybe it was like the 7th or 8th.
I bet you probably scooped him at 7th.
Because so that's where the meat of the draft is between that like 6th and 8th spot, 9th round. You win it there, and they say you don't win it in the draft. But realistically, if you do work, you're going to see those guys fall to you that you're just like, that ceiling is nuts. And one of those guys hits, you're in the money.
No, you're absolutely right, Matt. I think that the first through third round, I mean, you can't really miss by a lot of these players. A lot of these guys are high usage in the first 3 rounds. your Joe Mixons, your Christian McCaffreys, your Julio Joneses, your Michael Thomases, and
Easy.
once you get out of that third round, you're looking for players that are going to produce at a high level for you and be like either a RB2 or a wide receiver 2, and your tight end 1, and the people that have done their homework, the people that know that if you can get a Terry McLaurin or a Cortland Sutton, or if you can get a Melvin Gordon or one of these players in the middle rounds, that's going to separate the men from the boys. That's going to separate the playoff teams from the not playoff teams, because every Joe or pro is going to pick Ezekiel Elliott in the first round.
Yeah.
But who's going to get?
You say homework loosely. It's not, do your analysis and do your spreadsheets and do your film study. It's, do you know your rankings? Like, do you know where you have these guys, or is it
ADP?
Like you're reading it off Fantasy Pros? Like, I guess everyone else says it that way, so I'm going to draft that way. If you want to take your game to the next level, you're going to look into. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just laissez-faire it and think something's going to happen. It's not. It really isn't.
To me, there's no such thing as reaching. You know what I'm saying? If there's a player, if there's a player you like, and if you see some potential, go for it. In my opinion, just go for it. Like, you don't have to go with the status quo. You know what I mean? I mean, just do your thing and just draft.
I love it when you make a draft pick that you're reaching, and then everybody in the draft room, if you're doing it live, is freaking out. Like, what's going on? That's the fun of it.
I'm like, relax.
I know what I'm doing.
A guy that I think is fallen to the middle rounds that can win some leagues for people is, and it's not a sexy name. He's an older player. Is a guy like Adam Thielen. A guy who is, he's been in the league for a little bit. He worked his ass off, and now he's the sole number 1 over there in Minnesota. So I think you're right, and I've reached on him a couple times, and I expect him that draft capital to pay off. So another guy I'm reaching on is AJ Brown. I'm getting him in the middle rounds. His ADP is slowly rising. Another guy that you can essentially reach on is the running back James Conner from the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people are taking him in the 3rd or 4th. I think that it wouldn't be crazy to especially get him in the 3rd, especially in PPR. Don't let him get to the 5th round. Don't let him get to the 4th round. Make sure that you scoop him up, because he's one of those guys that's going to be high volume. Ben Roethlisberger's back. He's going to put the ball in his hands.
That's key. Yeah.
He's gonna put the ball in his hands. So I would even give him put him in that grouping where a Todd Gurley, a James Conner, these guys can win you a league if you have them in the right position.
You know what words that I don't hear in the fantasy community enough? Sleeper and fade. Nobody's about the sleepers anymore. When I started, it was in the back, they say round 12, round 13, round 14, and redraft. You're looking for sleepers. And what that meant was they're not doing much. Of course, they're in that back end of the draft. But if they hit huge. And people don't talk about sleepers anymore. I think they're afraid to say, hey, I think that Armstead can really break out this year. And if you have him in the 5th, 15th, 16th round, guess what? And he starts getting majority carries. Boom, you're good to go. Handcuffed as well.
Speaking about sleepers, one of the guys that I thought was prior to the season was a sleeper, and I got him in my keeper league for $1 in my keeper league. We drafted about a week and a half ago, and I got Antonio Gibson for $1.
Whoa!
And then you see that AP is released a couple days ago.
Man.
So
wow,
you can see how the whole fantasy culture changes in a matter of days, right?
It's like, oh, the coach said something about his foot had a bruise on it, a contusion, and everyone's like, oh, I got to trade this guy. I got to get him off my roster.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
So you know what that
like,
reminds me. I wanted to talk about my DFS lineup. Matt, can you pull it up?
Yeah, give me a moment. You keep running it, and then I'll
worries, no worries. Whenever you get a chance, let me know to pull it up. But I got another question since we went through, we went through the Carolina Panthers. We talked about the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about the Saints. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers is one of those hype teams. It reminds me of kind of like the Cleveland Browns of when they got Odell and they have Jarvis and Nick Chubb, Baker, and they're supposed to just run through the whole league and be a playoff team. And what happened? What happened, 13?
Yeah.
They just didn't come together. It was just all hype, no substance. It's just too many mouths to me. Yeah.
Do you think that's a situation that can happen in Tampa Bay?
It can. Allow that to happen. I mean,
it's possible. It's possible.
It's very possible.
More than likely,
but it's highly unlikely. Yeah,
more than likely. I really think that out of that NFC South, I think that there will be 2 playoff teams. And, because I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to those Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I'm not going to say that they're going to be a bust. But I think that they are going to be one of those teams that is going to be fighting for a wild card if they don't come together early on, because they have a lot of personalities. They have the Gronkowski. They have the Fournette. They have the Ronald Jones. They have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and, of course, Tom. All things revolve around Tom Brady,
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird seasons where, they don't have a lot of time to just be cohesive as a unit. You know what I mean?
That's true. Last year they were almost a playoff team if it wasn't for Jameis and those
their defense.
They were like one game away. Their defense came on, and I think they improved since last year. So I would say that they'll be a playoff team. And you're right, they could be that wild card team.
Yeah, man. It's really about, Tom's not going to turn the ball over. Jameis was a turnover machine. Turnovers, extra possessions, being able to hold the ball. That's one of those things where you need to have that to win.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready to share this.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. If you don't mind, 13, we're going to talk about this DFS lineup that I got for DraftKings.
Let's do it. I'm down.
All right, here we go.
Bada bing, bada boom. We're talking about DraftKings lineup that I submitted for $20. Yes, sir. So, you guys, I just want everyone to know that we submitted a lineup. It's going to be week one week one for DraftKings. So all the daily fantasy players, feel free to copy and paste. Feel free to take a look because we got Lamar Jackson coming at $8,100 against the Cleveland Browns. That's my number one play. We got Tariq Cohen coming at $4,900. He's going to get catches. He's going to run the ball, and there's a good possibility that he scores a touchdown. He's elusive as it gets. We're going over to my next running back, and that's going to be Austin Eckler. You're going to pay $7,000 for him, and it looks like he's only owned he's the 26th most owned player in running backs, and he's playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, man. It's not the same Bengals as last year. They got Joe Burrow. I think they'll be able to keep the game competitive, so that means more Austin Eckler. Eckler is going to get the catches. He's going to get the runs, and there's a good chance he scores a touchdown. He starts fast in these leagues. He starts really fast in week 1 to 4. So this time he doesn't have anything to worry about. There's no Melvin Gordon coming to steal his shine. He's just going to be mano-a-mano, him and Tyrod Taylor, who's basically, hasn't really played a starting quarterback in some time. So he's going to lean on Austin Eckler.
Let me stop you there. Is it Tyrod or Tyrod?
Tyrod, right? Terod.
Yeah.
I
Tomato,
think
tomato,
It
tomato,
was,
tomato.
I think it's Terod. Yeah.
Terod.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to butcher you, my man. And shout out to Terod Taylor because he did say some really good stuff about arrest the Breonna Taylor's killers. So shout out to Hard Knocks on that. I'm gonna keep it going for DFS, and I'm gonna go to my 3 wide receivers that I got going on. And these 3 wide receivers are my favorite 3 wide receivers for week 1. Let's start with the guy that I was talking about a little bit earlier, Adam Thielen. Kirk Cousins is going to have to lean on Adam Thielen against Green Bay. We know that Aaron Rodgers always comes ready to play week 1. Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and they won 14 games last year. They won the division. So
13.
Adam Thielen is going to be, I'm telling you guys right now, he's going to have 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is my next guy. He's going for $6,400 on DraftKings. He's going to be my cheapest wide receiver. And, cheapest doesn't mean worst. Keenan Allen is going against the Cincinnati Bengals as well.
He's got that new contract. You got to extend it.
He just got a 4-year, $80 million contract. He's living the good life. He's coming in. They're going to force feed him the ball. He's a California boy. I actually know his brother. His brother's a real good guy. He's a Cal Bear.
Yeah, flexing.
At heart.
He's flexing, guys. He's flexing.
Yes, these Cal Bear guys are real cool. They got some swag into them, and I know they come ready to play, especially when they get paid. Once you pay them, they're ready to perform. So I got Keenan Allen, I got Adam Thielen, and my next wide receiver is Devontae Adams. Fun fact about Devontae Adams, he's actually my number 1 ranked wide receiver for the whole season.
Okay.
But especially week 1, he's going to have to go against a tough Minnesota defense. But who else are they going to throw to? I'll stop right there. Who else are they going to throw to? Adam Lazard, MVS? No.
Jay Stoltner.
Marquez.
Aaron Rodgers is fighting for his position.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I love Aaron Jones too, but they need to feed the ball to Devontae Adams. That's going to open up those lanes. Aaron Jones is going to get his 20 carries. Aaron Jones is going to get a couple catches. But what I'm saying is go ahead and fire up Devontae Adams for $7,300.
Wow.
Yep.
And my tight end is going to be Chris Herndon. And that is going to be my cheap play, very frugal. For $3,300, you're going to be able to get a New York Jet tight end against a Buffalo Bills defense who's very stingy. Tre'Davious White is going to go lock up the number 1 wide receiver over at for the New York Jets. Sam Darnold's not going to be able to throw that way. So what's he going to have to do? 13. He's going to have to check down to his running back. He's going to have to check down to Chris Herndon, and that means he's going to have a bunch of targets from 5 to 10 yards out. That means that'll translate to some catches, hopefully a touchdown. We'll see. But I see the Buffalo Bills are going to take a big lead. They're going to have to throw the ball. Jamison Crowder will also get his touches. Shout out to Jamison Crowder. I'm guaranteeing 80 catches this year for him. And you'll be able to get him in the back end of drafts, probably in rounds 11 through 15 and most drafts, especially.
I did.
Yeah,
I can attest to that. Yep.
13 got him in those back end rounds. And especially if you're playing PPR or half point PPR, Jamison Crowder is one of those. You basically get him for free.
And
he's a flex starter. So I got one more player on my DFS slate, and he's coming in at just over $4,000, and that's the guy that we talked about, who I got in my keeper league for about a week and a half ago, and his name is Antonio Gibson. You know what, guys? This is where they make the man and the boys separate, because there's a time and a place where, they send out a boy into the jungle and they say, hey, you know what? You don't come back unless you make a kill, get some fish, and you live out there for 3 days. Well, what the coach of the Washington football team did is he said, you know what? Goodbye, AP. Goodbye, Darius Geis. Antonio Gibson, here's the keys to the Ferrari. If you wreck the Ferrari, then you're gone. But, hey, you have all the opportunity right now. So what I want to see out of Antonio Gibson for $4,000 is him to catch, run, and score. Haskins is going to have to lean on his guys. Philadelphia is going to come ready to play, score some points. Deshaun Jackson, Ertz, these guys are familiar with first games, big time, players. So Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, these young guys are going to have to step up. And for the very, very, very last DFS, cheap, frugal, financially responsible play, it's going to be the Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots. I know people are probably shaking their heads at the New England Patriots going up against the Miami Dolphins, but I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm doing this is because Tom Brady's gone. This is a new era in the AFC East. We're talking about no Tom Brady. This is the first time in how many years they haven't had the Hall of Fame quarterback. So that means they're going to shuffle up things. And that means that the Miami Dolphins have a chance to shut down that New England offense. I'm not scared of them. I'm not scared of Julian Edelman. I'm not scared of Sony Michel. So it's a division game. Let's see what they can do. So it's really one of those flyers, and that's my thought process, guys. What do you guys think about that DFS lineup?
I think it's solid. I think you guys – so at DFS, you're shooting for the ceiling, right? I mean, that's exactly what you need. And in order to win, you need to look different than the rest of the guys. So that's what I'm seeing. Solid.
Nice squad, bro. Nice squad. I like it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, fellas, tell me this. Matt, where are you at in your draft?
I just finished up. It was the quickest draft of all time.
Give us one more rundown for our listeners about all your picks.
Yeah. Give me just a moment.
Sure.
My name is that one new guy because it's my second season. So I replaced someone last season to redraft.
Okay. You went in on one of those orphan.
Yeah, sort of. It's redraft, so it's a little different. Okay. All right. So it's Matt Ryan and my starting quarterback, Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley, Julio, Ridley. So I got the double with Matt Ryan. So we'll see how that plays out.
Man,
you got me all excited about the Atlanta Falcons.
What week are they on bye?
All of them are done on the 10th. So the 10th week.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a loss, but that's my one loss. Evan Ingram, Jonathan Taylor, my flex, Tampa Bay. They force you to do the defense and the kicker in this one because it's a standard old league. They've been doing it for years. And this league actually started one of my guys here in Vegas. David knows that I worked in show business for a while. I studied it in college. So this is like a show business league. Everyone either does technical stuff or is an actor, director, usually stage, a lot of film as well. But here in Vegas, kind of a smaller market, it's no big deal. But so it's all them, and they kind of just do it to get together every year and kind of reunite. And I think a lot of my leagues are that way. It's like we want a reason to hang out, and we want a reason to tell our wives to be like, yeah, we got plans this night. Like we're on ways or sometimes whatever that looks like. It's just like an excuse sometimes to chill with the boys and, give each other a hard time.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
My bench is like Jordan Howard, Deontay Johnson, Alexander Madison, Slayton, Robbie Anderson, Tony Pollard, and Jared Goff. So typically I wouldn't do bench quarterback, but I felt like he'd be someone that I can drop. There's probably Roethlisberger out there. I could do that a little later, but there's some options out there as far as streaming quarterbacks, so I'm good.
You love to see it. So it looks like, man, you got your latest draft. I know you're in a bunch of leagues. How many is that, Matt? How many leagues?
I don't know. I lost count. Probably about 12.
Wow.
What does your fiance think about all those leagues, man? I know that's a lot of time.
So yeah, it is. She knows football comes up, and we're getting married in October, so I'll be taking a little time off. And I love having you guys on because I know like I can hand the reins over to you, David. And Size 13, you're going to be there. You've been a supporter since basically day one.
Absolutely.
And we're brothers from LA in a sense. So I'll be out for like 2 weeks. I'll probably pop in here and there, depending on downtime and stuff. But it's definitely my honeymoon. Gotta enjoy it. I know your background.
Numero uno is
my girl. She's a chess player. Like, she's very strategic, analytical, more than I am actually. So she'll destroy me in chess. So there's things she does nothing about football, period. And then she doesn't know anything about fantasy football beyond that. So she doesn't get why I'm so into it. But at the same time, the way she speaks and the way she breaks some things down, I take notes because I'm like, I can apply this to fantasy football. I can apply this to the analyzers. Like, so she's amazing. She's definitely a partner of mine, and I look forward to our future. And I want to just make sure I take care of her, provide for her, as a husband, and just like you, David. You're definitely a legit man, and I'm sure size 13 you hold it down.
Absolutely.
Definitely, yeah.
10 years. 10 years. Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved having you guys on. I appreciate when I was having all the technical difficulties, you held it down while I was fumbling around and all that. But yeah, I mean,
it's I guess
kind of discussing through the draft. That's always a blast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, size 13. I appreciate you talking about the AFC South, man. I appreciate you giving us insight about your team that you drafted. We wish you the best of luck, man. The very life.
Thank you.
We
definitely. I mean, you can probably hop on a podcast with us. I'm totally down for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, just link me up again. I'll be there. You know what I mean? No problem. Yeah.
Sounds good, brother. Yeah. So again, just not even just on the fantasy tip, man. I hope you do really good in life. And
thank you, David. You as well, brother.
Keep spreading that positive energy. It exuberates to everyone. Me and Matt love it. So I think I got to do the breakdown on this, right, Matt?
Yeah, go ahead and run it.
Okay, man. Hey, again, this is size 13. Please was with us today. He's available on Twitter. He loves to talk football. I'm at Sack Experts on Twitter, Fantasy Salesman on Twitter, and Fantasy Analyzers. Man, make sure you reach out to that page. That page is booming right now. We get nothing but good questions, back and forth, dialogue, and we're ready to just, debate you, talk about trades, talk about anything football related. So, again, you'll be finding us more on Apple Music podcast wise. Run Pass Option is the podcast to listen to. Let me say that again. Run Pass Option. And size 13, please, can you shout out Run Pass Option one time?
Check out Run Pass Option on Apple Music. You won't be disappointed. Run Pass Option.
Run Pass Option.
Be there.
Pass Option podcast. Hey, thanks, Matt. Thank you, size 13, please. And we're signing off, fellas.
Yeah, good night, guys.
Have a good night. Later.
All right. Oh, they left. It's me.